thing is I like to use a couple of different colors, and on the STAR test you can use highlighters. On AP tests and things, you'll just have your pencil, and you can do all of this with just your pencil as well. So the first thing is always going to be to put your name. Okay. We're going to look at the title, and we're going to try to decide what type of an article this is. So the article is Why Champions Don't Have Time to Procrastinate. Okay. So just from the title, I can tell it's a persuasive text. Okay. It's going to try to persuade me of something. So when I'm looking at an informational or a persuasive text as opposed to a literary text or a narrative text, that persuasive text is going to have a certain organizational pattern. So that's one of the things I'm going to look for. If I have questions to answer over the article, I may be looking for answers to the questions. So I would want to preview the questions. In this case, I've told you we're going to write our own argumentative essay, and we're going to use this as a source. So when I'm looking at this as a piece that I'm going to pull out pieces and write, I may be looking for ideas I might want to quote. Okay, so ideas, quotes, or things that you might want to pull as quotes for your paper. So kind of the first thing that you want to do when you annotate is say, what am I going to look for in this piece? Okay, so we'll start going through it together, and then I'm going to have you continue kind of trying to mimic more this style as you complete the paper, and then I'll be able to take a grade on it. Okay, so Why Champions Don't Have Time to Procrastinate. I know this was April of 2018, so it's a pretty recent article. I know where they found it, where the person who gave it to me found it, and I know who wrote it. Okay, although I don't know anything about this person, at least I know that I don't know the person. I know a little bit about them. I know Steve is a guy's name. Ferrante, I'm not sure, but I could look up and see if this person has written any other articles. And just kind of learn more about the author, because I do have some information here. Okay, it says, so now I start reading. If you're a procrastinator, there's a really good chance you'll bookmark this article to read later. That would defeat the purpose. Sort of like that book, How to Improve Your Memory, that I can't seem to find. Okay, so here's his hook. And kind of defining, it does define procrastinator. Doing things later. It's been 200 years since Benjamin Franklin famously said, never leave that till tomorrow, that which you can do today. One would think that's ample time for that success to catch on with the human race. Okay, so Benjamin Franklin quote he uses, the reality is that many, if not most folks, function closer to what Mark Twain later said in his comical paraphrase of Franklin, never put off till tomorrow what you can do the day after tomorrow. Okay, so again, we have a Twain quote, and it's comical. So the tone of this so far has been pretty amusing, funny, light. He says folks, so he's using informal language, which kind of sets people at ease. Okay. The dictionary definition of procrastination is the action of delaying or postponing something that should be done. It is derived from the Latin word procrastinatus, meaning to put off till tomorrow. Obviously, if you, your business, or your employees are postponing something that should be done today until tomorrow, you're not maximizing your time. Your results will suffer. Okay, so now we have a claim. And in persuasive or informational text, you're going to, that's another thing to look for, is claims. Okay, what is the author saying is going to happen? So if we're procrastinating, we're not maximizing your time, we may suffer. This may be something that I use as one of the arguments when I write my paper. This may be an idea, and I will credit it to the author of this paper, but I may write about it in my paper as well. To be clear, procrastination is different from prioritizing. Prioritizing is the act of purposely scheduling the order for dealing with a series of items or tasks according to their relative importance. Done properly, this can be beneficial. Procrastination is when you know what to do and when you should do it, but delay doing it anyway. This is a disadvantaged behavior that hinders productivity. Okay, so we define prioritizing, and this time I am going to kind of summarize because now we're kind of getting to the meat. Okay, priority is putting things in order, and procrastinate is putting off things. And I think that is an important distinction to make as we read about procrastination. As an example, I could earn a good living just on the clients that told me they wish they had done their sales customer service training sooner. In most cases, they were aware of other clients of mine that were succeeding at a higher level on the program, verbalized that they wanted to do it, yet put it off. Usually the reason was that they were looking for that elusive perfect time. Later they realized that while they were postponing, they were losing sales and profits that they could have gained during that time. Okay, so procrastination, you can lose sales and profits. So I'm just kind of go back through it, and I'm like, what are the keys here? And he's saying he could earn a good living just on clients that told me they wish they had done their sales. So he must be like a consultant that helps with these people who own businesses. And they were aware of other clients that were succeeding at a higher level. So they're like, man, I want to be that successful. Why aren't I as successful as other people? Okay. So knowing that procrastination is likely the single biggest killer of productivity, why are so many people, perhaps you and or your team members, plagued by it? Then there are many reasons, and much has been written about them over the years. Okay, that's a weird phrasing. So, I don't really understand that. Maybe it's supposed to be them. Them are many. I don't know. That wouldn't be grammatically correct. So, I'm just kind of thinking as I'm writing about things. But really, I'm not going to focus on that because I don't understand it. It may not be important. Procrastination is likely the single biggest killer of productivity. That is key. Put a little exclamation point. And key point. And at this point, I may stop and biggest killer and go in with my other color and some of the things that I've seen. Kind of highlight the things that I think are most important that I really may want to focus on when I write my paper. Here are my top 3 reasons champions don't have time to procrastinate. So instead of talking about why people do and making a list of why people procrastinate, he's going to say why people can't. And so this is going to be positive. Okay, so the tone was amusing, and now I'm realizing that he's trying to be very positive with procrastination, kind of lighthearted and positive. Are you postponing? Oh wait, champions don't wait for success, they go for it. Are you postponing important tasks, waiting until you have more time so that you can really focus and get the job done perfectly? After all, who wants to rush in and get a task done poorly? Now, when you can wait and get it accomplished perfectly later, no doubt later we'll have more time and later you'll have more time and energy too. Or if you're like most people, you won't. You'll just take up more valuable time procrastinating and putting off what's most important to your success. A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week, said U.S. Army General George S. Patton. As Patton pointed out, in warfare, it is a strategic advantage to execute a course of action rapidly. Procrastination, inaction, and agonizing over the perfect solution can, and often does, lead to the foe gaining the upper hand. So, when you don't want to make hasty decisions, you also can't afford to lose ground and risk failure due to your inability to act quickly. So we have, again, a quote. And then I really like, this is his analysis of the quote. So if I'm writing something and I want to add a quote like he has a few times, this is a really good, we call those mentor text, because we use them and then kind of copy that style. Like we can read this quote and see how he kind of fleshes it out and explains it. And then if we use a quote, we're going to want to do the same thing. So maybe we would pick a totally different quote and we would use this as a model to see how you should explain it. All right, so I have done the first page for you. Just so you know, this is front and back. And then a little bit, and I think the staple kind of got lost, and some people lost that last page. But looking back, this is for me what annotation looks like. Okay, it's not pretty. It can be messy. It's really getting your thoughts out on the paper. It's a lot of underlining, circling, commenting in the margins more than just summarizing. Sometimes we might summarize. But a lot of times we want to get into more analyzing. Like, what do we think is important? Why do we think it's important? What are we going to look at? The last thing I want to do is go back and look at the organizational pattern. Okay, and so I'm going to grab one of my different colors. So we definitely kind of have the introduction, which isn't, just one paragraph, but you can't see that pen, but definitely is all kind of introducing, definitions, background, that sort of thing, and then he's making a list. So there's a clear, since there's a number one, we can assume that there's going to be, he's numbering off as we do the back, number 2, number 3, and then he's going to conclude in some way. So we can, the organizational pattern is pretty clear here. He has short paragraphs. He's probably assuming that a procrastinator is not going to read long, big, chunky paragraphs, so he's paragraphed in just a couple of sentences in each paragraph. So I have some idea now of his organizational pattern. So I'm going to say short paragraphs, numbered ideas. There's not bold words and stuff sometimes in persuasive or informational text, there is. And then he has the intro, the ideas, and the conclusion. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of information about this. Now if I was going to sit down and I was going to use this as one of my texts to write the paper, Why Champions Don't Have Time to Procrastinate, I would have some things that I might pull and credit to the author, and then add my own ideas to it, my own thinking, maybe my own examples of times that I have procrastinated, or that procrastination, I've seen procrastination impact somebody's life or work. So, hope this helps you, and you are going to do the rest on your own and kind of make it look like this as much as possible. All right, thanks. Let me know if you have any questions.